ani lefanecha Moachai v'kayam Ruachai v'kayam Ruachai v'kayam Ruachai v'kayam I thank you, God, for the gift of my life. I thank you, God, for the gift of my life. Your spirit lives in me and adores. Your spirit shines from within. Your spirit lives in me and adores. Your spirit shines from within. Moda ani lefanecha Moda ani lefanecha Ruachai v'kayam Ruachai v'kayam Ruachai v'kayam Ruachai v'kayam I thank you, God, for the gift of my life. I thank you, God, for the gift of my life. Your spirit lives in me and endures. Your spirit shines from within. Your spirit lives in me and endures. Your spirit shines from within. Moda ani lefanecha Moda ani lefanecha Ruachai v'kayam Ruachai v'kayam Ruachai v'kayam Ruachai v'kayam I thank you, God, for the gift of my life. I thank you, God, for the gift of my life. Your spirit lives in me and endures. Your spirit shines from within. Your spirit lives in me and endures. Your spirit shines from within. Moda ani lefanecha Moda ani lefanecha Ruachai v'kayam Ruachai v'kayam Ruachai v'kayam Ruachai v'kayam I thank you, God, for the gift of my life. I thank you, God, for the gift of my life. Your spirit lives in me and endures. Your spirit shines from within. Your spirit lives in me and endures. Your spirit shines from within. Once more. Dani lefanecha madani lefanecha Ruach Hai V'Kayam Ruach Hai V'Kayam Ruach Hai V'Kayam Ruach Hai V'Kayam. I thank you, God, for the gift of my life. I thank you, God, for the gift of my life. Your spirit lives in the iron doors. Your spirit shines from within. Your spirit lives in the iron doors. Your spirit shines from within. Boker Tov, everyone. That was a little bit of a morning Moda'ani as we get started. Jody, Steve, and I are really thrilled and honored to be with you this morning for a short experience in our journey on the path of love and justice. We have a program that's running on Sunday mornings that we welcome you to join, and we'll do a taste of that today. We're focusing on the teachings of Shir HaShirim, and we're focusing on aligning the Shir HaShirim parshiot, or segments from Shir HaShirim that we read each week that are aligned with the Torah and Haftorah cycles. Our intention is living a path of love and justice as a beloved community, embracing our common humanity. And we have a practice of lighting a candle to invoke the sacred space that we're entering in as a community. And of course, we're like 12 of us or 13 of us. So we have a minyan, Baruch Hashem, and there's the candle. And we also take this moment to look in everyone's eyes and connect and recognize that we're rectangles connecting into a large rectangle, and we're connecting into the broader rectangle of our Adat Shalom community coming on soon, and then of course the broader country and world. So this week we're studying, we're in chapter 2 of Song of Songs, and we're on verse 16. So chapter 2, verse 16. And that part of Shir HaShirim that we're going to do a chant with, and then Steve will go into a meditation, and then we'll transition into Shabbat morning, is Dodi Li Va'anilo Haroe Bashoshanim. Thank you, Amy. And I'm going to put the chant up in the chat right now. I'll put it on right as Jody's starting. How's that? So I can focus on sharing a little bit of the mystery of this chant. This is a practice of this week that we've been working on since Monday. We'll work on it today. We'll continue working on it tomorrow in our morning session from 10 to 11. It's really about experiencing a sense of mutuality. See, Song of Songs is like a dance between us and the divine and us. And so this particular week, we've been focusing on the experience of mutuality, so that we can actually experience, I call God the love force, through all aspects of my life, so that it could be awakened and called forth, so that the love force then can come through me. So it's like this kind of dance of being open and receptive, and then receiving and flowing in a kind of covenantal love. Rather than transactional, it's covenantal. So it's with commitment. And, I invite you to as we do the chant and the silence after the chant, which is a sacred time of the medicine of the chant working, what is it about your covenantal mutuality relationship with the divine? So Jody, I'm going to pass it over to you now.
Dodi li va'ani lo haroeh b'shoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Once more. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Dodi li va'ani lo. Haroeh b'shoshanim. Haroeh b'shoshanim.
Just continue in this beautiful silence allowing the medicine of this chant to fill up every cell in our bodies. So we're just going to continue deep breathing as we move into a state of meditation around the chant and around the parsha for today. So if you allow your shoulders to come back and your crown of your head to rise up to the sky, and find your feet firmly planted on the ground, and just feel the strength of your body this morning. And let's just practice some deep belly breathing. And as we breathe in, recognize we're breathing in clear, filtered air coming into our bellies. And just practice that for a minute or so. And recognize as this clean, filtered air is coming into our bellies, we're healing the belly region. We're healing our gut region. Millions of nerve endings holding information, holding our life's historic patterns. And we're just healing through our breath, deep into our belly. If we bring our attention to our right hip, the Sephirot of Hod, the Sephirot of gratitude, we offer thanks to our parents, our grandparents, and our great-grandparents, and we presence them with us this morning. And whatever awareness we can give to heal whatever they needed to be healed, and whatever we need to clear for our future generations, we offer that in the moment. And we bring our attention to our left hip flexor, the Sephirot of Netzach, the place where we know we have more work to do. It's the place where Tikkun Olam lives within us. It's the place where our mission and purpose is pure and clear. And we just breathe into this place for a moment. And we return back to our belly region, the place where Jacob becomes Israel, the place where we become united with the One. It's also a place where you sowed the energy center that holds our sexual energy, our charisma, our charm. We notice that it begins to rise up through our spinal column, up into our heart center, to Tiferet, a place of beauty, the place where we recognize our beauty in the presence of God's beauty. And as we move inside our hearts, we move to a place where we observe our vineyards, hundreds of acres of beautiful vineyards in bloom, surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of acres of lilies. And we just sit in this field and in our vineyards, feeling the divine grace, feeling the divine love. And as we sit here, we recognize that our right hand and our right arm holds the energy center of Gevura, our strength, our might, our fight for justice. And we're balanced in our left arm and our left hand with chesed, with our deep felt sense of compassion and kindness. We allow ourselves to move back into the chamber, back into where we're sitting inside our vineyards. And we just observe our breathing. And we recognize this strength and this chesed, this love, as we observe these packs of foxes surrounding our vineyards. And with our awareness, we tie these packs of foxes to some difficulty that may have been in the air when we were born. May have been in our family. It also may have been in the community we were living or the country at the time, or whatever it was. We bring our collective awareness to those events. And through our collective awareness and through our deep, deep, profound sense of might and love, we begin to transmute, we begin to metabolize inside our bodies those energies that have caused cracks in our beautiful vase of life. Just maintain this awareness with each other. Maintain this sense of metabolizing whatever it was that caused some disturbance in our nervous systems when we came into the world. And we fill the cracks in that vase with beautiful gold filling together. We each have our little jar of gold filling, and we fill those cracks with justice, with might, with love, with compassion, sealing it up. It becomes part of our story, becomes part of our strength. And we finish up this meditation by breathing in Yud through our face, through our third eye, exhaling Hey through our heart, inhaling Yud, Vav through our heart, and exhaling Hey through our torso. We'll do it together just 3 times. Inhale Yud through our third eye, silently to yourself. Exhale Hey through our heart's center. Inhale Vav. Exhaling hey. Inhale yud through our third eye. Exhale hey. Inhale vav. Exhale hey. One last time. Inhale yud. Exhale hey. Inhale vav. Exhale hey. Jody, bring us home.
Do di li va ni lo. Do di li va ni lo. Do di li va ni lo. Haroe b'shoshanim. Haroe b'shoshanim. Do di li va ni lo. Do di li va ni lo. Do di li va ni lo. Haroe b'shoshanim. Haroe b'shoshanim. Once more. Do di li va ni lo. Do di li va ni lo. Do di li va ni lo. Haroe b'shoshanim. Haroe b'shoshanim.
Thank you, everyone. And we'll be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for a deeper dive in this practice. And we're every Sunday, same time. So please, anytime you want to tap in, no experience necessary. Blessings. Love you all. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, and thank you so much, Paul and Steve and Jody. What a wonderful way to begin the day together. Thank you, thank you. And everyone else, thanks for tuning in. We just have a few minutes to transition now from this meditative opening into our main service. You may want to, if you've been here since the opening chanting, you may want to just stretch for a moment, take a sip of your, whatever you're sipping, and Jeff or Cheryl, I don't know if you have anything you need to check in about before we begin.
Actually, Rachel, quick question. Will you give me some signal on when to finish the Amidah?
You mean the silent part?
Yes, I just don't have a good feel for, I don't always have a good feel when we're not all sitting together.
Yeah, I'll just go like this.
Yeah, quite enough.
Sure, we'll find a subtle way to.
You could just send me a private chat would be fine, like
Okay.
it's time. Thank you.
It's always a guess.
Can I just,
Yeah.
Can you hear this okay?
Yes,
Not too
Yeah.
loud?
sounds just right.
Okay.
Welcome as people are joining. Shabbat Shalom. And our Gabayim are asking me to just take note, everyone, that we're about to go on live streaming, which we're doing now every Shabbat. So just continue to come as you are and bring yourself to this virtual community. I want to say a special welcome to JD Klinke, who's just joined us. What a delight to see you in our virtual sanctuary. And our choir director, Lisa Summers, is with us. It's a very special morning today. See a few new faces. Want to say welcome to all of you who are with us for the first time or the second time or however many times. We're happy to have you. And to all of our Adat Shalom friends, it's so good to be together. Good to be with all of you. Welcome. La 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 Shabbat Shalom. People are rolling in through our waiting room. Glad to be with all of you. Let's sing a little bit more till we come to our opening prayers. La 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 la. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome once again. Turn to Jeff Weintraub to lead us.
Page 141. Tohu ohalecha Yaakov, tohu ohalecha Yaakov, nishkenotecha Ishkenotecha Yisrael, Ishkenotecha Yisrael, Batovu ohalecha Yaakov, Ohalecha, Ohalecha Yaakov. Mishkenotecha, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Mishkenotecha, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Matzovu ohalecha, ohalecha Yaakov. Matzovu ohalecha, ohalecha Yaakov. And now if you will join me on page 153 for the Birchot HaShachar. Please rise if you're able. And page 153. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel amim hamevir shena me'enai utnuma v'afapai. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel amim anoten nesech bivina le'avchin ben yom uven laila. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel amim rokah haaretz al hamayim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel amim pokei hachivrim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel amim malbish harumim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel haolamim matir asurim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel haolamim zokef kefufim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel amim hamechin mitzadei gaver. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel olamim she'asa li kol tzorki. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel amim ozer Yisrael bigvura. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel amim oter Yisrael b'tifara. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel olamim she'asani b'tzalmo. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel olamim she'asani ben chorin. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel olamim she'asani Yisrael. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu chel olamim anoten le'ya'ef koach. Amen. And then to page 177. Baruch she'amar ve'haya ha'olam. Baruch hu, Baruch oseh bereshit. Baruch shemo. Baruch Omer ve'oseh, Baruch Hu, Baruch Gozer Mikayim, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Mirachem al haaretz, Baruch Hu, Baruch Mirachem al habriot, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Meshalem Sachar Tov l'reyav, Baruch Hu, Baruch Mavir Afela Mavi, Umevi Ora, Baruch Shemo, Baruch Hayla ad v'kayam lanetzach. Baruch hu, Baruch podeh umatzil. Baruch hu u'baruch shemo. Moving quickly through Pesukei Zimra, quickly so we have time for so many things that are going on in this service today. Please turn to page 201. Hodu l'Adonai ki tov, כי לעולם חסדו הודו לאלוהי האלוהים כי לעולם חסדו הודו לאדוני האלוהים האדונים כי לעולם חסדו לעושה נפלאות גדולות לבדו כי לעולם חסדו לעושה השמיים בתבונה כי לעולם חסדו לרוקה הארץ על המים כי לעולם חסדו לעושה הורים גדולים כי לעולם חסדו את השמש לממשלת ביום כי לעולם חסדו את הירח בכוכבים לממשלות בלילה כי לעולם חסדו שבשפלנו זכה לנו כי לעולם חסדו ויפרקנו מצרינו כי לעולם חסדו נותן לכם לכל בשר כי לעולם חסדו הודו לאל השמיים כי לעולם חסדו הודו לאל השמיים כי לעולם חסדו כי לעולם חסדו
Hold on to these words of praise and take them now with us to page 243, page 243, the last lines, blessings and gratitudes from now until all time. Please join me, the last three lines. Brachot vehodaot me'ata ve'ad olam, Baruch atah Adonai, El melech gadol batishpachot, El haodaot Adon haniflaot, Habocher b'shirei zimra, Melech el chei ha'olamim. And now like that orchestra that's tuning itself, ready to play together, let's rise once again. Page 247 in our Siddur. Call ourselves together as a community. Feel the connections that somehow can transmit through our screens. Stand firm on the ground, lift the heart high. And please answer me, page 247. Barechu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed. And the bracha together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer or uvorech choshech oseh shalom uvorech et hakol. 249 hakol yoducha v'kol yeshabechucha V'kol yomru en kadosh kadonai. 249 last lines. Hameir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha berachamim uvetuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reshit. 251 Hamelech hamarom levado me'az hameshubach u'mefuar mitnaseh mimot olam. 251 last lines. En kerkecha Adonai Eloheinu ba'olam hazeh ve'en zulatcha malkeinu lechaye ha'olam haba. Efes piltecha go'aleinu limot hamashiach ve'en dome lecha moshienu lechaye olamim. Page 253. Or 255, whatever's best for you, but join in, please, this hymn to creation. El Adon al kol ha'ma'asim baruch u'mevorach befi kol neshama godlo v'tuvo malei olam da'at u'tvuna sovevim oto המתקהל חיות הקודש ונדר בכבוד על המרכבה זכות ומישור לפני כיסו חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו יצרם בדעת בבינה ובחסקל כוח וגבורה נתן בהם להיות מושלים בקרב תבל מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה נאה זיום בכל העולם שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם עושים בהם הרצון קונם פאר וכבוד נותנים לשמו צולה ורינה לזכר מלכותו קרא לשמש ויזרח אורה והתקין צורת הלבנה שבח נותנים לו כל צבא מרום תפארת וגדולה שרפים ואופנים וחיות הקודש לי 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 $269 אור חדש על ציון תאיר ונזכה כולנו במהרה לאורו Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer HaMeorot. 273 now. Wrapping ourselves in love as we bring ourselves close to the morning Shema. Join me in these opening words, page 273. Ahava rabba ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu. Ahava rabba ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu. And once again, Ahava rabba ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu. Chemla gedola v'terachamata aleinu avinu malkeinu ba'avur avotenu v'imotenu shebatchu b'cha v'telamdem chukei chaim ken techonenu telamdenu Avinu ha'av harachaman hamrachem rachem aleinu v'ten b'libenu lehavin ulehaskir lishmoa lilmod ulelamed lishmor ve'lasot ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה. 275 והערנינו בתורתך ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראת שמך ולא נבוש ולא ניכלם ולא ניכשל לעולם ועד כי בשם קודשך הגדול והנורא בטחנו נגילה ונשמחה נגילה ונשמחה בישועתך. Gathering the four corners. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו כי אל פועל ישועות אתה וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל.
Adonai
moments now for us to reflect on these middle passages of the Shema with the beautiful sounds of our singers echoing in our ears. And I ask you now to join me on page 282. Page 282 in the English, second paragraph, middle of the page. Please read along with me out loud. So place these words upon your heart, into your life breath. Bind them as a sign upon your hand and let them rest before your eyes. Teach them to your children, speaking of them when you sit at home and when you walk upon the road, when you lie down and when you rise. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates so that your days and your children's days be many on the land the faithful one promised to give your ancestors as long as heaven rests above the earth. And the final verses of the Shema, page 285, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, Daber el bnei Yisrael ve'amarta alehem, Vasulem tzitzit al kanfei vigdehem ledorotam venatnu al tzitzit הכנף פתיל תכלת והיה לכם לציצית וראיתם אותו זכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. We go now to our freedom song. The words are on page 291, and I just want to pause and invite us to inhale and exhale together to feel, I don't know if you're feeling as I do, the enormous sense of longing that hearing the sound of our choir brings up for me, and the beautiful images that we just saw of our shared home, images captured by Audrey Rothstein, our own Audrey, which make me long for that home and long to be with all of you in person, as we've done for so many years together. And I believe this is the same longing for freedom that our ancestors felt, which we just affirmed at the end of the Shema, that they in fact experienced the liberation. It's the same story we're telling ourselves today, and the same story we remember in these verses of liberation, page 291. And I ask you to join with me in the melody that's reserved for these few special times a year. Page 291. Tehilot Lael Elyon, Baruch Hu Mevorach, Moshe u'Miriam, u'Bnei Yisrael lecha anu shira, בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה, שיר החיים. יהודים לשמך על שפת הים. יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Sur Yisrael, rising, Kuma Bezrat Yisrael. חינומך יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Page 295. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי שרה אלוהי יצחק אלוהי רבקה אלוהי יעקב אלוהי רחל אלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל העליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני רב להושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה כל חיים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך. מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע ונאמן אתה לך חיות כל חי ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה כל חי. Page 303. נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ואומר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנסים לאומת צרפים, לאומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ממקומך מלכנו תופיע ותמלוך עלינו, כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי, מתי תמלוך בציון, מתי, מתי תמלוך בציון, מתי, מתי תמלוך בציון, מתי, מתי תמלוך בציון. בקרוב בימינו לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, ולנצח נצחים, ועינינו תראנה, תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך, בעינינו תראנה, תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש. בשירך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Please continue with the silent Amidah or your own meditations. We will join together for Oseh Shalom on page 323 at the end. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, עושה שלום במרמיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Amen. Toda rabba rabba to you, Cheryl Hurwitz, and to Jeff Weintraub for giving us your beautiful voices and your spirit this morning. Before we go to our Torah service in honor of Shabbat Shirah, we've asked our Chords of Glory singers, what a marvelous name that is, Chords of Glory, to please come and share some music with us this morning. And I think for this to work best, it will help if everyone in this room turns on speaker view, if you're willing to do that for just a moment. Speaker view, because we're going to have a number of different voices now joining in to sing at different moments, and there's no way for us to spotlight them each in time. So if you want to hear each of these beautiful young voices in time, just put your own settings on speaker view. And we'll turn to Pam Summers, who is the amazing leader of Chords of Glory. Pam, I don't know if you want to say anything. I'll just say by way of introduction, we are going now to hear a piece of music that I think has become beloved among so many communities and speaks of the power of music to draw us together and to give us faith in the future.
All I would like to say is I got the idea for this a very short time ago, and I want to acknowledge Chaya Laufer for helping me put it together. So chords, here's your first note.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
With songs they have sung for 1,000 years.
The hills fill my heart with the sound of music.
My heart wants to sing every song it hears.
My heart wants to beat like the wings of the birds that rise from the lake to the trees.
My heart wants to sigh like a chime that flies from a church on a breeze. To laugh like a brook when it trips and falls over stones on its way. To sing through the night like a lark who is learning to pray. I go to the hills when my heart is lonely.
I know I will hear what I've heard before. My heart will be blessed with the sound of music. And I'll sing one more. Ashvil al hahar mitorer bezemer.
שירו מתנגן כבר אלפי שנים.
Aharet libi mimale bet semer.
Alev mevakesh et hanigunim.
הלב מבקש להמריא אל על בין אגם לצמרות העצים.
הלב מבקש לחצמי הצלצול פעמון מקסים. לצחוק כמו סופה אשר מעדה שחלפה בין סלעים. השיר כמו זמיר שקולו את הלילה יניב. אבוא אל ההר כשבלב עצוב לי.
אבוא ואשמע שוב אותם קולות.
ליבי יבורך בצלילך זמר. אשיר עוד ועוד.
Wow, wow, wow. Let's raise our hands in appreciation for these beautiful sounds and to join them. Ashir od ve'od. Thank you, Chords of Glory, for keeping the song going, for keeping the melody going. Wishing you well, and we can't wait to hear you again. With that, we're going to now turn to our Torah service. We'll begin with the verses on page 387. Please join me, page 387. Be'anarachetz velishme kadisha kadisha yakira Ana amartu shpechan be'anarachetz be'anarachetz velishme kadisha kadisha yakira Ana amartu shpechan Yerava kodamach detiftach libi beoraita vetashlim mishalim delibi veliba dechol amach Yisrael letavu chayin Velishlam. Amen. And now page 393, we turn to David Plaus to lead us. David, page 393.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadlu Adonai iti, Una Romema Shemo Yachdav.
Thank you, David. Yishar Koach. So as if we were in the sanctuary together, we'll now settle the scroll on the shulchan and have a few minutes to consider this week's Torah reading. This week when we come into the ultimate moment of liberation. Parashat Beshalach. This Shabbat, we allow ourselves to enter the sacred myth of the Exodus from Egypt. The story itself, I think of like a great ocean wave. It begins at the beginning of the book of Exodus. It starts like a little ripple on the water with the midwives who brought forth the babies of Hebrew mothers. It builds with the birth of Moses, with the theophany at the burning bush. The wave grows stronger with each of the 10 plagues. It builds in size and strength. That wave now, this Shabbat, crests and finally crashes in a great climax. The children of Israel passed through the Red Sea, and the Egyptians, caught in the wrong part of the crashing wave, are not heard from again. This morning, we stand before our Zoom screens as the Song of the Sea is chanted, so that we can connect ourselves with this central experience of Jewish peoplehood, which we must say is also a central experience of all humanity. The experience of going from constriction to liberation, from the place of narrow bondage to a place of expansive redemption. These are big themes, and they get crystallized, I think, almost like freeze-dried into the ancient text that is before us this morning, also into the ancient melody. Da 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 da. That melody that weaves through this poem and that we'll be able to chant together with Pam Summers in just a few minutes. When we hear these words, when we hear this melody, we're meant to transcend our perception of linear history, to feel that somehow we are there. We are among the multitudes. The sea is before us. The Egyptian army is behind us. There are terrified Hebrews all around us. Look, you can see Moses up ahead. Right there beside him is the casket with Joseph's bones. Aaron is close behind. He's whispering advice in his brother's ear. Over there, Miriam. She's at the center of a group of women. She's calling out instructions. All of the women have bundles on their heads. Some are balancing a baby on their hip, or maybe in various stages of pregnancy. And right there, Shifra and Pua, the midwives who helped birth these multitudes, they have come to join the entourage. They are welcomed as honored guests by the mothers they have tended, by the babies they've delivered who have now grown. And look out, here comes Nachshon ben Aminadav. He's pushing his way through the crowd. He's determined to get to the front. Over there, an entrepreneurial teen is selling cakes of matzah. Buy one, get one free. Old slaves, used to silent submission, are standing quietly, awaiting orders. Their eyes are vacant. You hear words of doubt rising up all around you. People are saying, we'll never get through this. We should have stayed where we were. Now what? I always imagine there is a moment of silence right here. We have a midrash from the Jerusalem Talmud, from Tractate Ta'anit, that says that in this moment, right before it became clear what was happening next, in this moment, there were 4 factions among our ancestors. One faction said, let's just be courageous and jump into the sea. One group said, this isn't working, let's go back to Egypt. One said, let's make war. We'll go to war against the Egyptians. And one group said, let's cry out in prayer. The Midrash imagines that the text of the Torah is Moses' answer to each of these 4 factions, each of these 4 groups that have pulled themselves apart from one another. So you can see the Torah's answer, Exodus chapter 14, verses 13 and 14. I'll say it again, Exodus chapter 14, verses 13 and 14. If you're looking at the newer Plaut Chumash, it's on page 436. So to each of these 4 breakaway groups, Moses has an answer. When they say, let's jump into the sea, Moses says, stand and see God's deliverance. When they say, let's go back to Egypt, Moses says, the Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. When they say, let's go to war, Moses says, God is going to fight for you. And when they say, let's cry out in desperation. Moses answers, hold your peace, sit tight. So back to my imagined moment of white silence. A moment when everything stops. The four factions, their cacophony of arguing pauses for a moment, and we're held in suspense. A moment of utter terror, which quickly becomes a moment of utter wonder as the waters begin to subside. There is a tradition that says there was a special kind of bird song heard at the sea, that in the midst of all this chaos, in the midst of all this fear, one could hear the birds of Egypt organized into some kind of marvelous chorus, and that the chorus of the birds gave the children of Israel the strength to find their own song. Even today, there's still a custom to feed the birds on Shabbat Shirah, to thank them for their role in bringing this liberation. I'm not making this up. There are even some special halachic permission, a heter given to carry on Shabbat so that people could carry food for the birds. Imagine the children of Israel standing before the water and a large formation of birds singing in the sky loudly enough to break through the noise of the four factions below, so that, as the Torah says, Vayar Yisrael, the children of Israel saw, Vaya'aminu b'Adonai, and they began to believe. And then they started singing. Like those four children at the Seder, we have all of these four factions within us. These voices all arguing inside of us. We have moments of courage and vision, moments of resignation, moments of defiance, moments of desperation. We cycle through them, sometimes all in one day. Like the children of Israel who couldn't see the future, but only the moment they were in, we humans can only respond to now. We would love to know that the sea will part for us when we need it to. But this, I believe, is where faith comes in. This is where we have to say to ourselves, there can be miracles if you believe. And I am quick to acknowledge that we don't necessarily believe that the sea was miraculously split, but that the real miracle was the faith that grew in that moment of terror. We can acknowledge the miracles unfolding right now in a time of enormous pain and sometimes terror for us. Is it not miraculous, even with the chaotic rollout, that we have a vaccine? Is it not miraculous that our democracy is intact? And let me tell you what the next miracle is that's coming our way. It's the miracle that the human family will find a way to do what we need to halt the momentum of the climate crisis. The birds are singing to us. They're saying to us, pull yourselves together. Listen to our song and find your own song of unity. As I said to our Torah study group this past Wednesday, I kept rolling around this phrase from the book of Exodus in my head last Wednesday, a week ago. The Torah says, Vayakom melech chadash asher lo yadat Yosef. I kept thinking to myself, Vayakom melech chadash ushmo Yosef. We have a new leader. We have a new season. And we must be ready to believe in the possibility of miraculous outcomes. We're going to turn now to our Torah reading, which will begin just before the Shirah. And when we get there, join together and call up the memory of that first experience. Shabbat Shalom. Let's begin. Our first Aliyah, we're going to call forward David Michaels. And I believe our amazing Gabayim have already started putting the readings in the chat for us. We'll begin with Exodus 14, verses 15 through 20. We'll hear Paula Lewis reading for us. The older Plout Chumash, page 480. The newer Plout Chumash, page 436. ויעזור ויגן ויושיע לכל החוסים בו ונאמר אמן. הכל הבו גודל אלוהינו תנו כבוד לתורה. יעמוד דיוויד מייקלס לעלייה הראשונה. ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל. ואתם הדבקים באדוני אלוהיכם. חיים כולכם היום. So David, first to you for the opening alternative bracha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe, ma titzak elai, daber el bnei Israel v'yisahu, ve'ata הרי מאדמתך ונטה את ידך על הים ובקעהו ויבואו בני ישראל בתוך הים ביבשה ואני הנני מחזק את לב מצרים ויבואו אחריהם ויקבדה בפרעה ובכל חילו, ברכבו ובפרשיו, וידעו מצרים כי אני אדוני, ויקבדי בפרעה, ברכבו ובפרשיו, וישא מלאך האלוהים ההולך לפני מחנה ישראל, וילך מאחריהם. וישא עמוד הענן מפניהם, ויעמוד מאחריהם, ויבוא בין מחנה מצרים ובין מחנה ישראל, ויהי הענן והחושך, ויאר את הלילה, ולא קרב זה אל זה כל הלילה.
Baruch atah Adonai hamelamed Torah la'amo Yisrael.
Amen. And Yasher Koach to Paula, beautiful to hear you. And to David, what a joy to be able to focus on you for a moment and to thank you to your service to our country. You have served on the Biden-Harris transition team, helping the new administration to wrap their mind, their collective mind, around the needs, the enormous urgent needs of our pandemic response right now. And your contribution has been instrumental in helping them discern exactly what path to take in a moment when there are many confusing paths to take. We're enormously grateful to you and honored to have you among us, and wish you good things in the next chapter, whatever is coming next for you. Yasher Koach and Toda Rabba Rabba.
Thank you so much.
We're going now to our second aliyah. We're calling forward Jody and Steve Shapiro, marking the completion of Shloshim for Jody's mother, Jerry Markoff. We'll turn to you, Jody and Steve, for the first aliyah, for the first opening blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
And now we're waiting.
Amen. Vayet Moshe et yado al hayam, vayolech Adonai et hayam, beruach kadim azah kol halayla, וישם את הים לחרבה, ויבקעו המים, ויבואו בני ישראל בתוך הים ביבשה, והמים להם חומה מימינם ומשמאלם. וירדפו מצרים ויבואו אחריהם כל סוס פרעה רכבו ופרשיו אל תוך הים, ויהי בישמורת הבוקר וישקף אדוני אל מחנה מצרים בעמוד אש וענן, וים את מחנה מצרים, ויסר את אופן מרכבותיו, וינהגהו בכבדות, ויאמר מצרים, אנוסה מפני ישראל, כי אדוני נלחם להם במצרים.
And Jody and Steve for the closing bracha, page.
Baruch atah Adonai Maled Torah le'amo Yisrael.
Amen. So first of all, Yishar Kochech to you, Kayla, for your beautiful reading, and Jody and Steve for this moment of memory and the completion of this first cycle of a moon in memory of this enormous presence in both of your lives, especially Jody, for you. Wish you only good memories and comforts going forward, and that the mourning process of this first year bring you increased insight, understanding, appreciation. May Jerry's memory be for a great blessing.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
We're going to turn now to the third aliyah, which is the moment we've been waiting for, or some of us have been waiting for at least. It's our time now to once we hear Craig Lustig, who will be the aliyah and give the opening blessing for us all to rise. And I really want to invite us all to do this. I know it takes a little extra, suspension of disbelief with our computer screens in front of us and microphones and various other accoutrements that make it even harder to feel we are there. But it's all inside of us. The sacred myth is inside of us. So this is just a moment for us to awaken it and to connect to one another, to all of our larger Jewish community who are all crossing together this morning. Pam Summers is going to read the Shirah, and she will show us as she goes through which verses we can join in for. In that special melody that we practiced, that's the one we use for those special verses. First, Craig Lustig for the opening bracha. And then I should explain, we're starting now Exodus 14, verse 26. That's where Pam will begin. You can find it in your, in your Chumash, in the older version, beginning on page 481, in the newer version, beginning on page 437. Craig.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai Moshe, nitei et yadecha al ha'am, vayashuvu hamayim al Mitzrayim, al richbo ve'al parashav, vayet Moshe et yado al hayam, vayashav hayam, lifnot boker, Le'etano Mitzrayim nasim likrato, vayinaher Adonai et Mitzrayim b'toch hayam, vayashuvu hamayim, vayichasu et hareches את הפרשים לכל חיל פרעה הבאים אחריהם בים, לא נשאר בהם עד אחד, ובני ישראל הלכו ביבשה בתוך הים, והמים להם הומה מימינם ומשמאלם. ויושע אדוני ביום ההוא את ישראל מיד מצרים, וירא ישראל את מצרים מת על שפת הים, וירא ישראל את היד הגדולה אשר עשה אדוני במצרים, ויראו העם את אדוני, ויאמינו באדוני ובמשה עבדו. אז ישיר משה ובני ישראל את השירה הזאת לאדוני, ויאמרו לאמור, השירה לאדוני כי גאוגה, סוס ורוכבו רמה בים. עזי וזמרתיה, ויהי לי לישועה, זה אלי וענווהו, אלוהי אבי, וארוממנו. אדוני איש מלחמה, אדוני שמו, מרכבות פרעה וחילו ירה בים, ומבחר שלישיו טובעו בים סוף. תהומות יכסיומו, ירדו במצולות כמו אבן. ימינך אדוני נדרי בכוח, ימינך אדוני תרעת אויב. וברוב גאונך תהרוס קמך, תשלח ארונך יאכלי מוקש, וברוח אפיך נערמו מים, ניצבו חמונת נוזלים, קפאו תהומות בלב ים. אמר אויב ארדוף אשיג, אחלק שלל, תמלא אמו נפשי, אריק חרבי, תורישמו ידי. נשפת ברוחך, כי שמו ים, סוללו כעופרת במים אדירים. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא. נטית ימינך תבלעמו הארץ, נחית וחסדך עמזו גאלת, נהלת ועזך אל נווה קודשך, שמעו עמים ירגזון, כי לחס יושבי פלשת. אז נבהלו אלופי אדום, אלי מואב יוחזמו רעד, נמוגו כל יושבי כנען. תיפול עליכם אימתה ופחד, בגדול זרועך ידמו כאבן, עד יעבור עמך אדוני, עד יעבור עם זוקנית תביאמו, ותטעמו בהר נחלתך, מכון לשבתך פעלת אדוני, מקדש אדוני כוננו ידיך. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, כי בא סוס פרעה ברכבו ופרשיו בים, וישב אדוני עליהם את מי הים, ובני ישראל הלכו ביבשה בתוך הים, ותיקח מרים הנביאה אחות אהרון את התוף בידה, ותצאנה כל הנשים אחריה בתופים ובמהולות, ותען להם מרים, שירו לאדוני כי גאו גאה, סוס ורוכבו רמה וים.
And Craig, we'll invite you for the closing blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai lamad Torah li'amo Yisrael.
Amen. And let's send a huge Yasher Koach to Pam Summers for helping us to feel that crossing all together. Want to just hold on to that melody for one more second. Shir al Adonai, join me. Ki gaoga, sus verochvo ramavayam. We have been so blessed by the presence of our choir, especially, I would say, during this pandemic. And I'm going to turn now to Lisa Summers to bring us into our healing prayer.
As the choir sings a special prayer for healing this morning, as always, please feel free to share in the chat the names of those who are ailing in any way that you are holding in your thoughts and prayers.
Rifa'enu Adonai v'nei rafeh, Hoshienu v'nivashea.
קרוב לכל קוריו, אך קרוב לרעיו אישו.
We pray for healing of the body. We pray for healing of the soul, for strength of flesh and mind and spirit. We pray to once again be whole. And
Amen. Amen. And I want to just, among all the prayers that were lifted up during that beautiful healing prayer, I want to send special love and healing energy to Len Blackman, who was able to join us last night for our Kabbalat Shabbat. And we're all just pulling for you, Len, and looking forward to your safe journey forward. Go to our final aliyah, and it's a delight to call forward Cheryl Hurwitz as both the aliyah and the reader. And we'll turn to the maftir reading for Parashat Bishalach. But can we just say we're not going to let go of the sound of the Shirah in our ears, inspiring us to believe in miraculous possibilities going forward. Turning now to Exodus 17, chapter 17, verses 14 through 16, and you can find that in your Chumash in the older version, page 507, in the newer version, page 448, and calling Cheryl Hurwitz forward.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה.
אמן.
ויאמר אדוני אל משה, כתוב זאת זיכרון בספר, ושים באוזני יהושע, כי מחו אמחה את זכר עמלק מתחת השמיים. ויבן משה מזבח, ויקרא שמו אדוני ניסי, ויאמר כי יד על כס יד, מלחמה לאדוני בעמלק מדור דור. ברוך אתה אדוני המלמד תורה לעמוד ישראל.
Amen. And so, Cheryl, it's always a delight to hear you to daven or to lane or be with us in any way to play the violin. But it's a special delight to bring you forward in front of the community to wish you well for a very special birthday that has just unfolded. And I have some relatives who say, every birthday is special, but some are more special than others. And we wish you, as you cross the threshold into a new decade, only good things, good health, strength, continued growth in your amazing journey as a musician and spiritual leader, in your work as a healer and therapist, and probably in your most important job in life as a mom. We are delighted to have you in our midst and very blessed. And Yom Huledet Sameach.
תודה, תודה.
Transitioning now out of the Torah reading, I want to just pick up just a very little bit of the Haftarah with us this morning. The Haftarah from the book of Judges, and matched up as if the editors had a momentary break in their commitment to male domination in the Torah. We get to hear this week not only the Song of Miriam, but also the Song of Devorah, the great judge from the book of Judges, the Song of Devorah. I want to turn to the end of the Haftarah and just chant just a few verses and ask you to chant along with me if you're comfortable to do so. The end of the Haftarah lifts up a different female character in the unfolding story of the book of Judges, and it is the mother of King Sisera, who is slaughtered by our heroine Yael. And it's this moment at the end of the Haftarah when we see Sisera's mother sitting by the window, waiting for her son to return home and wondering, and of course not knowing that he's not coming home. And I lift this up in recognition that our liberation, our success has come at the price of others' suffering. And we wish only to celebrate our freedom, our liberation, our future path without that suffering. So if you would just join me, I'm not even going to say the brachot, but just a few verses. I'm now looking at Judges chapter 5, beginning with verse 28. בעד החלון נשקפה ותייבב אם סיסרא בעד האין אשנב מדוע בושש רכבו לבוא מדוע איחרו פעמי מרחבותיו חכמות צרותיה תעניה אף היא תשיב אמריה לה הלא ימצאו יחלקו שלל רחם רחם 200 לראש גבר שלל צבעים לסיסרא שלל צבעים רקמה צבע רקמתיים לצווארי שלל כן יאבדו כל אויביך אדוני ואוהביו כצאת השמש בגבורתו ותשקוט הארץ 40 שנה we can just hold on to that closing verse, that closing image of peace and tranquility for as long as it will last. So the Torah has been lifted, the story of the crossing of the sea has been sung, and we go now to one prayer before we return the Sefer Torah to the Ark, back in our Siddur, a prayer for our country. Please join me back in our Siddur, page 418, page 418. It's a custom to rise as we're able, and please say this out loud with me. Even as we're muted, we're out loud. Sovereign of the universe, mercifully receive our prayer for our land and its government. Let your blessing pour out on this land and on all officials of this country who are occupied in good faith with the public needs. Instruct them from your Torah's laws, enable them to understand your principles of justice, so that peace and tranquility, happiness and freedom might never turn away from our land. Please, wise one, God of the life breath of all flesh, waken your spirit within all inhabitants of our land and plant among the peoples of different nationalities and faiths who dwell here love and brotherhood, peace and friendship. Uproot from their hearts all hatred and enmity, all jealousy and vying for supremacy. Fulfill the yearning of all the people of our country to speak proudly in its honor. Fulfill their desire to see it become a light to all nations. Therefore, may it be your will that our land should be a blessing to all inhabitants of the globe. Cause to dwell among all peoples friendship and freedom, and soon fulfill the vision of your prophet. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, and let us learn no longer ways of war. And we say together, Amen. Page 441, turning to Jeff Weintraub to lead us, and holding the image of the Torah as a tree of life as we pass through this week of Tu B'Shvat and the recognition that the spring has already begun its process. Page 441.
ובנוחו יאמר, שוב אדוני רבבות אלפי ישראל, כי לכך טוב נתתי לכם, תורתי אל תעזובו. עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה, ותומכיה מאושר. דרכיה דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו Adonai אליך ונשובה. חדש, חדש ימינו, חדש ימינו כקדם.
We have a special piece to share this morning, a very special piece of music in honor of Shabbat Shirah. I turn once again to our amazing choir director, Lisa Summers, to bring us into it.
Shabbat Shirah Shalom, everyone. First, I just want to thank Rabbi Cantor Rachel for giving our wonderful choir, who I am so proud of and blessed to lead, the opportunity to sing for you this morning. And her Devar was the perfect introduction for what you're about to hear from the choir. I wanted to find music that would connect with this special Shabbat Shirah, more specifically with Parshat B'Shalach, which is what we just heard. This is the part of the Torah from which the rabbi selected the Mi Chamocha to become part of our worship. So I researched choral settings of Mi Hamocha and selected a piece that many of you probably already know. It's from the 1998 DreamWorks animated musical film of The Prince of Egypt. It was actually an adaptation of the 1956 film of the Ten Commandments. And the piece is called When You Believe, and it's written by the well-known musical theater and film composer and lyricist, Stephen Schwartz. So here is the choir, and When You Believe.
Many nights we've prayed with no proof anyone could hear. In our hearts a hopeful song we barely understood. Now we are not afraid, although we know there's much to fear. We were moving mountains long before we knew we could. There can be miracles when you believe. Though it's frail, it's hard to kill.
Who knows what miracles you can achieve when you
Ashira Adonai ki gaoga. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nehedar hakodesh. Nachita v'chastecha am tzurata. Nachita v'chastecha am tzurata. Ashira, 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 Ladonai ki gaoga. Ashira, Ladonai, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar hakodesh. Nachita v'chastecha am tzurata. Nachita v'chastecha am tzurata. Ashira, Ashira, Ashira. There can be miracles when you believe. Hope is rare, it's hard to kill. What miracles you can achieve when you believe. Somehow you will.
I cannot thank all of the singers and our accompanist Seha for all the work that they put into putting this together.
I want to ask all of our singers, we can't spotlight you all at once, but I want you to take note of what's unfolding in the chat, just the expressions of appreciation. And while we're taking that in, can we sing for a minute? Ashira ladonai ki gaoga. Ashira ladonai ki gaoga. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh. Ashira, Ashira ladonai ki gaoga. Ashira ladonai ki gaoga. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh. One last. Ashira ladonai ki gaoga. Ashira ladonai ki gaoga. Thank you so much, Lisa Summers, all of the singers, and a word of gratitude to the amazing producers who Lisa has found to work with, who somehow magically had our singers actually crossing the sea as they were singing to help us feel all of this even more deeply. We're so grateful. We're going to take all of this into the realm of memory. Deep breath, everyone, as we transition now into our closing prayers. We want to acknowledge losses recent and more distant. So first of all, this first Shabbat in community, in memory of Gladys Lipton, Judy Eckerman's mother, and Lila Blaine, Jamie Kaplan's mother, both of whom completed their Shiva this past week and now begin those weeks of Shloshim. And also to Susan Gaeta, who is remembering her brother, George Feltman, excuse me, who passed away just before the end of the new year, the end of last year. I also want to acknowledge those observing Yortzeit this week and share these names and ask us also to call up the names of others who we're remembering today. Lauren Gross's father, Herman Gross, Harry Holzer's father, Simon Holzer, Steve Shapiro's father, Leonard Shapiro, Tina Adler's father, Hans Adler, Quentin Fisher's father, Barney Fisher, Sherry Lincoln's mother, Helene Lincoln, Beth Sperber Ritchie's grandfather, Jacob Sperber, Debbie Spielberg's, Anne Spielberg's mother, Gisela Spielberg, Lance Clausen's mother, Gail Clausen, Anthony Garrett's mother, Muriel Garrett, Elise Jaffe's mother, Nancy Rosenthal, Elena Broder Feldman's grandmother, Beatrice Westerman, Randy Steiner's grandfather, Nathan Abramson, Bob Aronoff's father, William Aronoff, Tom Cohen's father, Saul Cohen, Larry Goldsmith's mother, Sheila Goldsmith, Amy Jaslow's grandmother, Yetta Carney, David Kirsch's mother, Marguerite Letterberg, on that first Yortzeit, Mark Malamud's father, Benjamin Malamud, David Byrne's father, Israel Birnbaum, Mimi Blasiak's sister, Deborah Epstein, Susan Gaeta's father, Philip Feltman, and Murray Sachs's grandfather, Herman Kaplan. And I'm now just seeing in the chat, my goodness, Flori Jagoda. The great Flori Jagoda has passed away just yesterday, and we hold her entire family and all of us who have been blessed by her work and her life in our hearts as they begin their mourning period. Alea HaShalom. The Mourner's Kaddish in our Siddur, excuse me, page 451. We take in all the names we've heard and the names we're seeing in our chat. Page 451, asking those in mourning or observing a Yortzeit to please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen.
Amen. Yehei
Shmei
Shmei
Rabba mevorach
Rach
le'olam
Le'olam Olmei
Amaya.
Olmaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, all these memories for a blessing. We turn now one more time to Jeff Weintraub to lead us, page 445. Please rise as you're able.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שנתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. שירת השמיים יעשה בארץ ויושב ואלוהינו אינו למלכנו ופסולתו ידעתה אינו על כן נקווה לך אדוני Kakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz. Vayom hahu yeh Adonai echad. Ushemo echad.
Thank you so much, Jeff. We can be seated. I want to acknowledge aloud here what I didn't have in front of me in notes, that this is the 25th Yortzeit for Judith Kaplan Eisenstein, who's been a great teacher in our movement and in the Jewish world, and is remembered with love and admiration.